Okay, good morning. Considering that we have a charged agenda, let's start because we have a lot of things to say today. So my name is Esteban Pelayo. I am the director of EURADA. EURADA is the European Association of Development Agencies, and this webinar is a common exercise and project of many people behind the scene. So I don't want to take only the merit, because I'm sure that it will go well. So in particular, we have the operative work of We Do Projects, a company in Barcelona, which is very interesting in the field of project management and communication, and White Research, a Greek company very specialized on social research and very interesting. So thank you for being here. This is a common initiative, and this is why it's a difficult event, but I think it's going to be interesting for all of you, of 4 Science with and for Society project. It's SeeRRI, which is mostly a project working in citizen engagement and communication. TeRRItoria is the project that we are participating in, and we are the communication manager, working mostly in institutional changes in different, very diverse territories. RRI to Scale, which is connected with the smart transport, energy, and as well DigiTeRRI about digitalization of territories. We join forces, and we think that we have things to say, because there are many differences among ourselves, but we have a common objective of involving the institutional change for inserting there in the strategies the principles of responsible research and innovation, which is the way to have better regional and innovation strategies in the territories. Considering the diversity, we are going to organize 3 different webinars with very clear objectives and showing you the diversity and the different solutions that we have been deploying during this year of the project. The first one that is going to take place today, and I will enter later, is about maritime and coastal management. And another one will be on peripheral territories, so those territories in mountain areas or not connected with the center of decision that needs to take and are relevant for the regional economic development of their territories. And the third one that will take place is about heavily industrialized places, very central, but that need to change with the new trends of energy, Green Deal, and as well digitalization as an enabler. So today, as you could see in the slide, we are going to have 4 territories, two of them from Norway, Nordland and Vestland, and another one from Greece, Central Macedonia and Galicia. These territories are quite relevant, and we are going to have an explanation about how they manage their maritime and coastal region accordingly, or involving the principle of responsible research and innovation. I want to tell you something which is very relevant, and many of you maybe don't know. The surface of the territory managed by the European Union in the sea is bigger than in the land. And you should consider as well that we have territories elsewhere, not only in Europe, but we have territories in America, in the Caribbean, and as well in the Pacific. So this type of territories, more than that, we have 68,000 kilometers in the European Union of coastal areas that has a lot of pressure, because they are very rich, most of the population live there. There are many uses to be done there, and we have to take important decision for us, for our current development, and as well to preserve the future generation. 68 kilometers if we only consider the European Union, but in these projects, and we are going to have 2 cases, we are going to have Norway. Only Norway has 25,000 kilometers of coastal area that as well. And inside of Norway, we have the diverse. So we have places with a lot of pressure of population, and other places with less population that need to be there. This totally, if you are this totally area that we should manage, is 3 times what the United States coastal area, or 2 times than Russia, which is a very big country. So we are going to analyze today different issues for each of the coastal area management. First, we are going to have an internal and context presentation, and then we will analyze the impacts and how the population works in each territory, and how we solve as well, not the population, but as well the high population or the high use as well. What are the critical sector and how we could include then some responsibility and some better connection with the RRI principle. And then later we will finish with the with the good practice, something that we consider that should be an example from there. As any other meeting, and I'm sorry because I lost that, you should consider that you are going to be recorded. We are going to promote and publish this event because we don't want just to keep for ourselves. This is something that is the legacy of the project, and later we go back and we will go back. So be aware that you are not only going to be recorded, but as well, we will publish this video online. And I will appreciate if we have a short time, and because many people are going to speak, please use the chat as a question and answer. I will give you, I'm going to be the moderator, your moderator during the whole day, and I will give you the word because as well we need to answer questions, and I'm sure that you will have comments to say. So the first presentation and what we are going to do at the beginning is to present a little bit the context and who we are, and we will have a presentation of RRI to scale, the project RRI to scale, in order to tell you and to give you an idea of what is this type of project of responsible research and innovation, and how we are changing the institutional framework of each territory. So we have a lot of speakers. I don't know who is going to speak on behalf of RRI to scale. The first speaker for RRI to scale.
So hi everyone.
Hi Margarita, thank you very much.
My name is Margarita Angelidou. I live in Greece, and I am a project manager at RRI to Scale. And so here I am today to present to you a few introductory information about TeRRI to Scale, which is a 3-year coordination and support action of the European Commission. We are about midway through the project, and the full title of the project is Responsible Research and Innovation Ecosystems at Regional Scales for Intelligent Cities, Transport and Energy. And I will briefly explain later why we focus on intelligent cities, transport and energy. So how we came up with the concept behind RRI to Scale. First of all, we know that all European regions and beyond are expected to develop good research and innovation strategies, even more so within the S3 context, and highlight their competitive strengths. And we also observed, like all of us know, that all this is happening in a time where collaborative governance and policy co-design are on the rise across all areas and all sectors, regardless of the scale and the organization. So we decided to focus on how collaborative governance and citizen engagement can be improved at regional level, because this, traditionally speaking, citizens are left out of the debate when it comes to regional policies. They are much distant, let's say, disconnected from policy making at regional level. So in RRI to Scale, we want to change this paradigm and put citizens and other regional stakeholders at the driving wheel of policy making for regional innovation, if you like. So that's the key idea behind the RRI to scale. And we decided, on top of the previous, to focus on the domains of intelligent cities, intelligent transport, and intelligent energy, because these three domains are highly technology oriented, let's say, and at the same time, these are the domains that citizens care for the most in their daily lives. So we selected these three domains because we want to empower citizens to decide for their own, let's say, life within the forthcoming 10 years. So that's a brief idea. The pilot regions that work with us in this project are Galicia, Spain, Crete in Greece, Vestland in Norway, and Overijssel in the Netherlands. And today, if I remember well, we will have a presentation from Galicia and Vestland. Regarding our methodology, first we start with a mapping and a good understanding of how the regional ecosystems function and what their needs are. And then we explore the future and develop future scenarios in a 10-year horizon about developments in the intelligent cities, intelligent transport, and intelligent energy will roll out. And then we bring to the same table, let's say, in each region, all the stakeholders to co-create more responsible territorial agendas and roadmaps for innovation. And in the end, the four pilot regions will also sign a memorandum of understanding. And before closing, I would also like to say that we are placing a lot of emphasis on the monitoring and evaluation aspects as well of the projects. So we are currently developing an monitoring and evaluation and impact assessment framework that takes into account many dimensions, including regional innovation, including the three domains that I mentioned, RRI, the RRI dimensions, the SDGs, and of course, we are, along with White Research, we are promoting the project through very intensive stakeholder engagement, dissemination, and communication. So that's from my side. I hope it was you understood few information about the project, and of course we are here and ready to take in questions and provide any clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita, for the introduction. And now we are going to have an introduction of another project, TeRRItoria.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you more or less well, Galicia.
Sorry for this. I will try to speak clearly.
Okay.
Okay. So, hello from me. I am Galicia Pandazi. I work in the region of Central Macedonia in Thessaloniki, Greece, and we are partners of the TeRRItoria project. The TeRRItoria project is as well an Horizon 2020 project. It's actually in the final phase now of its implementation, as the project ends on January 2022. So we are actually now more focused in our transformative experiments, which I will explain in a minute. TeRRItoria actually supports the regions and cities in our work towards responsible research and innovation through the 5 RRI keys, which are the ethics, the science education, the gender equality, in which we in the region of Central Macedonia are working on, the public engagement, and open access and science governance. TeRRItoria is actually based on the idea that RRI approaches, policies and practices may be specifically adapted to regional and territorial governance. So TeRRItoria tackles a double challenge. The first one is to bring RRI to the forefront of the debate for developing local and regional research and innovation capacities, and to increase the number of stakeholders that are involved through RRI in regional research and innovation strategies in the framework of our regional smart specialization strategies. As for the general objective of our project, actually it has been identified that it is very important for us, the regions, to promote the territorial research, responsible research and innovation as a tool to actually manage the challenge of transitional changes that are affecting the European society. TeRRItoria, as I said before, is based on the main idea that responsible research and innovation approaches, policies and practices may be successfully adapted to regional and territorial governance. It has been quite clear, especially during the recent health crisis, that the authority of science is decreasing, while the need of science to comfort our world's challenges is increasing. So TeRRItoria focuses on boosting the responsible dimension of science and the role of responsible science in the good of our society. Now, the challenges unavoidably encompass both the local and the global dimensions. For more information, of course, you have the project's website. So, as I said before, the main outputs and the main work we are now doing on the TeRRItoria project is the so-called transformative experiments. There are 5 regions that are involved in the project, and after mapping, co-creating, and researching the needs of our territories in one of the 5 RRI keys, we are now in the phase of implementing the transformative experiments. In the region of Central Macedonia, we are focusing on the key of gender. So we are going to draft a gender equality plan in order to be adapted in the research and innovation organization. The region of Emilia-Romagna is working on the governance key of RRI. The region of Vestland and Norway is working on the open access key. The region of Northeast Romania is working on public engagement, and the city of Gabrovo is working on science education. And there are many things more to read about TeRRItoria, and here is the link of our experiments.
Galicia, you were clear and on time. Thank you very much. And
thank you.
And you gave a very good presentation about the scope of the project. Remember that we have other 2, DigiTeRRI and RRI, and SeeRRI that has not been presented, but as well are looking for the institutional change on certain territories, the pilot territories or the experiment territories that were said in the 2 presentations. Now is the time for looking at what are the territories that are going to be here and what are going to be present as a coastal management. And the first one will be Nordland from Norway, which is the coordinator of SeeRRI as well. So I think Neugen is there.
Yes, we are several.
Okay, Jens, thank you.
Thank you. We have several people representing Nordland today, and I think our colleague from Nordland Research Institute, Åge Mariussen, will say a few words to introduce Nordland and Nordland's economy.
That's right. I'm Åge Mariussen. I work at the Nordland Research Institute. I've been working closely with the regional authorities in Nordland since 2014 on our smart specialization strategy, and that strategy was a kind of background for what we are doing within the context of SeeRRI, which is about SeeRRI is about co-creation. Nordland is situated in northern Norway, and the Arctic Circle is crossing our region. We are very proud of that. Despite the fact that we are far north, the climate is quite warm because we have the Gulf Stream. And the population size is about 240,000. That's 4.5% of Norway's population, but we have 25% of Norway's coastline. And we have marine industries, which include fish farming, which plays a crucial role in the regional economy. Norway is a global leader when it comes to farming of salmon. And that activity is mostly going on in the sea, in nets. But we now have a new development where salmon production is also moving on land. So we are looking forward to increase salmon production in the years to come. So the smart specialization strategy prioritizes 3 sectors: seafood, process industries, which are metals, which are mostly based on green energy. So we have a huge potential when it comes to the idea of green growth and how to produce metals which are not creating CO2 emissions. And the third sector is the experience economy, tourism. It has been suffering recently because of the decline in long-term people coming from the rest of the world. But we are still maintaining the tourist industry through domestic tourists, and we are looking forward to the opening up of the transportation. We also have mineral extraction, which is a significant industry. One of the blessings of this region is that we have a surplus of green energy. So we are producing a lot of hydroelectric power, which is a green energy, and the market for green energy is very nice. It's the level of costs of green energy production is low, and that's a potential for growth in the years to come, and we will come back to that later in the presentation, where we have a growing interest in battery factories, and that's a kind of success story of the smart specialization in Nordland has been that we have been contributing to the development of investments which are now starting in battery factory production, which is very energy intensive. So we have a green energy, which is the basis of battery factory, which are financed by the New York Stock Exchange. We will come back to that later. So this region has a big potential for development. We also have conflicts, which will be explained later, between different ways of using the coastline, between different interests. We have municipalities which has the responsibility for spatial planning in the coastal area, which is the focus on the SeeRRI project. And we also have a regional government with direct and elected regional parliament, which is working in collaboration with the municipalities on spatial planning in regional areas, which is the focus of the SeeRRI project in Nordland. Okay, thank you.
Thank you to you, because you have explained well the use and as well the conflict that we are addressing. So I think there are different conflicts in coastal areas, but your case is quite paradigmatic and help us understand what is what we are talking about today. So let's go to Vestland as well in Norway, and we will have a presentation from, I think Beate Bergholm is there. Beate?
Yes. Hello.
Okay. We can hear and listen to you perfectly.
Very good. Thank you for letting us present Vestland and the possibilities and developments in our region. Vestland is a very beautiful region. It's we have the long fjords and the high mountains, and all 43 municipalities in Vestland has a coastline, so it's a very much maritime region. We have 635,000 citizens, and that is about 11% of the Norway's population. It's a rather large county, not as large and long as Nordland, but it takes about 9.5 hours to drive from north to south, and there is no other way of coming from north to south. It's by road only. Vestland has traditionally a very open economy, and we have a large share of our economy from exports, both oil and gas traditionally, and energy, not as much export, but it's a very vital sector in Vestland. And we have the fisheries, of course, like Nordland, that export a large amount of fish. And we also have had a large mineral industry, which is in, I won't say decline, but it's changing very rapidly. Vestland is a large energy producer. We produce about 25% of the power in Norway, and it's mainly water and wind. And in Vestland, we have depended heavily on the petroleum industries, and due to that, we need to take a step forward and get into the green shift. And we have a lot of very competent networks and clusters that are making it possible for us to move forward. In the years to come, there are some dilemmas. 98% of the population growth is expected to come in the urban areas, mainly in Bergen. The energy grid is in need of vast investments to be able to provide the power and energy that the urban areas and the industries will need. Our nature is very beautiful, but it's also very vulnerable. So it's an important issue for us to preserve the nature, and especially when it comes to tourism, cruise tourism, and to certain parts of the process industries. As I said, the petroleum industries have had a tight grip on the region, and a lot of jobs, a lot of very attractive jobs spread out throughout all over the county. So we need to change the gear and get a sense of urgency into all of our governance and business environments. As a governmental body, we are gradually becoming more and more oriented when it comes to, we are trying to establish and strengthen all collaborative networks that we have. And our new strategy for innovation and business development has been developed through a series of networks and collaborations with stakeholders in all over the county. So it's been a long process, but it's been we have learned a lot, and we have had a closer relationship with everyone, and we hope to maintain that in the years to come when the strategy is set into life. Thank you.
Thank you, Beate. And as well, thank you for the photo that you have chosen. Not only the inspiration of the conflict, but as well we see that there are difficulties and there are things to decide. So let's go to the Mediterranean area, Central Macedonia, a partner of TeRRItoria. I don't know if Galicia or Eleni will present us?
Hello, I will do the presentation this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well to change.
So the region of Central Macedonia is a local public government in Greece. It has a population of almost 1.2 million inhabitants, representing 17% of the country's population and producing 17% of the GDP. It is the largest Greek region in terms of size, such as the second largest in terms of population, and consists of 7 regional units: Chalkidiki, Imathia, Kilkis, Pera, Pieria, Seres, and the capital, which is Thessaloniki, which is in the picture. The mission of the region is to promote the financial development, competitiveness, and extroversion of its businesses, protecting the environment and public health, protecting and promoting cultural heritage, and improving the living standards of its people. The region of Central Macedonia has a high degree of research and innovation activities, but there is low representation of women in higher management of levels of RRI in academia and industry. The innovation maturity of the region and our next goal as a region is to promote the RCM, Region of Central Macedonia Digital Innovation Node, that will focus on the large food ecosystem, specializing in food, biological and chemical materials, packaging, supply chain, wellness, health, genomics, bioinformatics, tourism, circular economy, consumer experiences, retail technologies, creative industries, and the public sector. Recently, there has been established a one-stop liaison office in the region, which focuses in smart specialization. And the 4 sectors that we have in smart specialization in the region are focusing on agri-food, materials, tourism, and textiles. Another thing that we have in our future plans is the technological specialization of the Greek digital node in the region that will focus on strengthening artificial intelligence, machine learning, and high-performance computing, blockchain, cybersecurity, digital transformation, interoperability, advanced digital skills, investment support, and services innovation supply.
Thank you very much, because you go beyond the description and plus what you are doing in the smart specialization strategies and what are the key priorities. For you, as a summary, digitalization is a key element, and all the things related to that with high performance computing, artificial intelligence, and so on. So you go beyond the traditional idea of maritime and coastal region that we have. Thank you very much. And now the last territory, before speaking about problems and issues, we wanted to introduce you the different territories. The last territory is Galicia, one of the more maritime regions, if not the more maritime from Spain, the northwest coast. And Manuel is there, I see him.
Good morning. Yeah, I mean, our region is on the Atlantic coast. Even if it's south, we normally, I think our economy is more linked to the Atlantic areas than to the Mediterranean, even though we are in Spain. Normally, we are looked at as a Mediterranean region, which is not the case. So we are a middle, not so large region. It's 30,000 square kilometers with 2.7 million inhabitants, and yeah, quite long coast. It's also similar somehow to Norway. It's very with ins and outs all the time. In the data that we introduced there are belong to 2019, 2020. And even with those, in those numbers, we can say that we represent around 5-point-something% of the Spanish population. And in terms of GDP or any other economical data, we normally represent around 5% in general, digamos, let's say numbers. But when it comes, for instance, to renewable energy production, for instance, we represent a bigger amount compared to the Spanish whole production, for instance. And it is similar also to what was mentioned from Nordland. Our main production comes from hydraulic power stations. And we are also, we produce more energy than we consume, so we are exporters of green energy. It is our population as a characteristic is that it is very aging. Our life expectancy is above 84 years old for men and women. It's a bit higher for women as usual. And our population older than 65 is already above 25% of the total population. Regarding innovation, in this image we have put in the slide, it is taken out from the previous S3. So this is 7 years old image, but most of it is still relevant. So our main, let's say that the marine issues are very present in our strategy and in our capabilities, but we have big weaknesses regarding, for instance, our capacity to transfer knowledge to the industry. In terms of, for instance, participating in, it says the FP7 or H2020 now, Horizon Europe, universities are strong on that, some research centers too, some RTOs, a limited number, but we have a very small or weak presence or participation when it comes to companies. Not only to SMEs, but companies in general. Another characteristic over the past years is that we have had a kind of a brain drain, important or a strong brain drain. A lot of people with good skills, higher education left the region because of the better prospects in other places. In fact, our population is decreasing. This is Spain is growing, but our region is decreasing. I think we can go to the next. These are the main, I think, the main issues for us. And if we go to the next slide, please. This is just some numbers about the marine issues. That is, part of the content today. And we are still, our marine economy has still a strong focus on fishing and fish processing. Aquaculture is also there, but it's a big production in volume, let's say. But we are just specialized in mussels, mostly blue shell mussels and cockles, and also turbot as fish. For the rest of the species and rest of aquaculture products, we are not very relevant at all. And so in seafood processing, it is the #1 region in Spain for capacity, turnover, and the rest. And in shipbuilding is exactly the same. More than half of the shipbuilding in Spain takes place in our region. And I think that's the 5 minutes, isn't it?
Perfect description of the Galicia. Thank you very much, Manuel Paris. Yes. Now that we have the profiles of the 4 regions, what we are going to discuss is problem and how responsible research and innovation have an intervention. So now you know the context of the 2 Norway regions, the one from Central Macedonia and the one from Galicia. I think very diverse, but facing the same difficulties about the renovation of the industries, use of the territory as well, which is something that is appealing. They are, well, then a positive, or 3 of them are positive in energy, clean energy generation, so they have a bright future in there. So let's go to how we discuss about the sustainability. And the first presentation will be about Nordland. I don't know if Mr. Maurice, sorry for that, for the pronunciation. Yes?
Yes, and here again, my colleague.
Okay.
I'm doing this presentation. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, perfectly well. Thank you very much.
We have the discussion in our SeeRRI project is about research and innovation and the sustainable use of regional maritime resources. And in Norway, we have a long tradition of taking care of maritime resources through research. There is actually a kind of history behind this because we have been sharing a lot of sea with the Soviet Union and now Russia. And we discovered that if we are using science, the Russians are listening to us. So we have a very scientifically based regulation of fishing and fish farming, which is important in order to understand the way we have been able to do this in a sustainable way. So the challenges and opportunities are regulations of fish farming, salmon, the quotas and regulations of offshore fishing. There is a long debate on wind power production, where there is some people want more wind power because it's a source of employment in energy production and in metal industry. Others are against wind power because that's a kind of, you know, they don't like windmills. So there is and then we have traditional and high-tech industries, and the role of foreign investment is also a challenge and opportunity. We have a resource-rich economy, and there is a lot of interest in investing in our region, and we want to see to it that these investments are made in a sustainable way. And so we have tourism, which is an untapped economic potential, but also a risk of environmental degradation. There are too many tourists. There has been, not the last year, but you know, during the last years, it has been growing too much. When it comes to RRI opportunities in seafood and related industries, we are discussing breeding of new species. We have a success when it comes to salmon production, which started 20 years ago and which is now very competitive. I don't know if you have tasted Norwegian salmon, but it's a kind of cheap product which has a huge market, and it's produced in large quantities because of the we have all these clean ocean areas. There is aquaponics, which are new types of breeding of maritime products, where we are connecting the whole value chain of the seafood production. And there is a kind of, we are discussing diversification and polycultures, which are also new innovative concepts of aquaculture production, which makes it possible to broaden the focus we have now on salmon. And then there is integrated multitropic aquaculture, IMTA, which is focused on the same topic. So, and these are actually the smart specialization strategies in Nordland. We are trying to build on the specialization in salmon production, and then diversify that into new products and new sources of seafood. Because we believe that in the global economy, there is a need for more seafood production, because production of food on land is leading to a lot of CO2 emissions. We are using land in a wrong way, and so there is no space for new land-based food production. And so we have this beautiful opportunity to diversify into new species. And this creates conflicts because there are different opinions on how the sea territory should be used. And so this is a kind of big discussion going on. How should we use the sea territory? How can we use nature in a sustainable way? And there are different opinions on this, which we will come back to later. Okay.
Thank you very much. I assure you that many of us have taken salmon from Norway, and we like that the future, as you could see, is on research and innovation in aquaculture and the new species. Thank you very much for your clear vision about the future of Nordland. Now we go to Vestland as well in Norway. Beate probably will. Hello, Beate, I see you well. Okay.
One of the things that Åge has said is of course the same thing in Vestland, because they are national regulations and institutions that are telling us how to do it. But how do we use the shore and the sea is it's a very much debated issue in Vestland as well. But at the same time, we have a lot of the innovation in Vestland has been on the how do the vessels move about in the coast. We have in Bergen, the port of Bergen has now built the largest power facility in Europe and can now supply all the ships with green energy. So, and we are trying to, and the port of Flom, which is a port with much cruise traffic, they are now going to build a power facility there as well. So the cruise ships will eventually be driven by green energy when they are in harbor. So in our World Heritage fjords, we have two, the Norway and Geiranger. They are in 2026 expected to have zero emissions. So the Storting of the Parliament of Norway is pushing hard to get zero emissions from the cruise industry. We can take the next picture, Thomas. You see, we have had a large scenario analysis done, and it was published last autumn. And through that, we have identified new value chains for the years to come. And since we have been heavily relied on the oil and petroleum industries, we need to do some adjustments and use the technology and the skills in other ways. Two major things is carbon storage and carbon utilization. And we have had in the recent year, there's come a decision by the government that we shall establish carbon harvest and storage facility in Vestland. And at the same time, we have a lot of activities going where they are trying to use the carbon in different ways. So we produce nanofibers from carbon. So in a circular economy perspective, we have now reached, we are a carbon heavy, we rely on carbon in Vestland, both the oil and now the storage and use of carbon. We also have a lot of focus on green shipping, and two of the clusters in Vestland, Maritime Cleantech and Ocean Technology, they have developed ships that have zero emissions, either through power or through hydrogen. So hydrogen is going to be a very important value chain for us in the years to come. And of course, energy systems, especially the grid. The grid in Vestland is in a poor condition, and we need to develop the grid to meet the demands of the society in the future. Unfortunately, we don't export power in Norway yet, because we need a pipeline to Europe to do so, and that pipeline doesn't exist yet. So we hope that it can be built so that we can deliver good green energy to Europe sometime in the future. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. When you speak about pipeline, is about the electricity connection? Is what you mean? Okay, yeah. Okay, great presentation as well. Thank you very much. So let's go to Central Macedonia, to regional Central Macedonia, to see what are the sustainable challenges that Galicia before. I thought it was yes. Sorry. No, it's Central Macedonia before, no? Or no?
No, we...
Okay, sorry for that. Then Galicia, Paris.
It's going to be my colleague, Virginia. She
Okay,
should be
Virginia.
somewhere around the place. Here she is.
Hi. I'm going to present some of the needs that we were identifying in the last weeks, because we are in the process of developing the next S3. So we have heard what the sector has to say about the needs in R&D. And in regard to the fishing, aquaculture and seafood processing, there is a need in Galicia for digitalization. And I think it's a cross-cutting issue in all sectors, but there is a need to improve production and commercialization, and also enhancing traceability and for the especially for providing information to clients. Then we need also to modernize the fishing methods, because they are becoming obsolete in a short time period. We need to explore about the new products, and this has to do, well, we are having new tendencies in food, and we need to focus on R&D, finding healthy food, and also vegan alternatives, because this is becoming a trend. So we need to be also in the front of that. There is, especially in fishing, there is a challenge, because we need to ensure that we have people working in the fishing sector, so to ensure the generational renewal. And then protecting our values and our products, looking for the marine, protecting marine biodiversity, and also observing the conditions of the sea and taking into account the climate change, which is a reality. Also, we need to research in biotechnology and enhance the technology transfer. This was said also by Manuel previously, to the productive sector. We need to keep investing in basic research to ensure we have we know what we have, and create like long-term knowledge. And we need to improve to keep the quality of our product and improve the brand image. Galicia is a region with high, with very good endogenous resources, so we need to promote the quality of our product, and also enhance collaboration between universities and knowledge centers and the industry, and involving consumers in decision making. And also the marine energy sector. One of the main problems is the need to have better governance, because we have a potential for energy production, but we need to have the legal instruments which make possible the exploitation of the energy. And then the need for research, further research on local possibilities, and the exploitation of our own resources. This is the same, as I said, that we need further legal support. And as opportunities, we see the biofuels from byproducts in the marine sector. And also we have the possibility to explore on offshore and tidal energy. As a cross-cutting issue, we need to manage all the territory in an integrated way. So the coast has many activities related to the sea, and this includes also tourism, because well, we receive a lot of tourists also, especially in summer, related to the sea. So we need to manage all the sea-related activities in an integrated way. And we have another slide, Thomas, if you can, thank you. And then we have also the shipbuilding and logistics sector, which is also key in the region. And this is a picture, I think, of the port of Vigo, which is the main one in Galicia. And we need also digitalization and the management of sensoring and IoT automation. Then I didn't say it before, but the circular economy is also one of the main targets for the next years in every sector. So we need to reduce emissions, and for that we need technology. I finished my time, so I don't know if I can take a bit more, but
yeah, take 1 minute, because I know that you are just finishing down. No problem. We are very good on time, Virginia. Don't worry.
I wasn't looking for for the
no problem.
Sorry.
I will say I want you to finish. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, further connectivity inside vessels, and we need to integrate the ports and the cities, also going for intermodality. And then we need to attract a professional, especially in the field of engineering and design, and modernize the infrastructure and management models. So I'm done.
Thank you very much, Virginia. I'm going to summarize some of the challenge that the three territories has expressed about the aquaculture. We spoke about energy, carbon storage, management of tourism, and as well what Virginia was saying now about shipbuilding and logistics. I think this is a common challenge but different approaches, as is the title of this webinar. Now we are going to go to another one. Well, I recall you that Central Macedonia was focused as well in digitalization, and is related to digitalization. Now we are going to a second challenge, is how to cope with the population, and the other way around, how the high urbanized areas in the coastal area, that is as well very common. So we have a first presentation from Nordland in Norway.
Hello.
Mr. Mauritzen, yes, or
yes, I'm audience. I don't think you've heard from
me
so far. So I work together with Åge and Jens on the SeeRRI project. So I'm going to talk a bit about like key demographic trends and some challenges and opportunities related to these topics. Jens will touch on more of these later. We'll talk a bit about some of these workshops we've done. So in Nordland, we have some of the same issues that many other regions have. Like we have an aging population. It's been a trend that's been going on for many years, and it is continuing. We have this migration from smaller coastal communities to urban centers of Nordland, like predominantly Bodø, where we are located. It's sort of the biggest city in our region. And we also have, of course, a migration out of the region itself. So Nordland is in northern Norway. It's a very big county. There are many opportunities here, but many people want to go to bigger cities that are further south, closer to Europe, especially the capital like Oslo. And this is also affecting the highly educated people the most, right? Though they have the even greater opportunities in big cities further south, especially like the capital. So these are things that we've been struggling with for a very long time. And these issues they're not going away. And there are other issues as well here. Like we have this education system here where we have like free education and all of these things. But we have had an issue in Nordland trying to match education outcomes to industry demands. So the industry is continually asking for competencies related to our like natural resources. But there's been a struggle trying to get both the county government to adapt to that, but also work together with academia, higher education at the university level to sort of develop courses that are fitting and useful to the industry. And some other challenges we also have is trying to attract these businesses that can engage in our RRI and produce high value-added products and services. In some respects, we have been successful with that, and we are moving in the right direction in some areas, we think. For example, what Åge talked about, we have these like hydroponics and these kinds of technologies that might be very relevant. But again, we have this issue with the academic match here. For example, in Nordland, the university here has there's a great lack of engineering education, for example. The university here doesn't have an engineering lines. They have great biology departments, for example, very relevant for our area. But there's a mismatch there again with having engineers, for example, that can be employed in these regions or these areas where we really need research and innovation related to these natural resources. So lately, this is like a challenge and an opportunity in a sense, but during this COVID crisis, we have seen that more and more people have sort of tried to emigrate away from the cities, trying to work from other places. It's especially relevant for ICT-related jobs, of course. So just a few days ago, I saw this newspaper article in the local newspaper where this woman that used to work in the tech industry in Silicon Valley had moved home and is now working from a small island outside the Nordland coast for a quickly growing fintech company. That is possible because of the internet, right? So these possibilities are there. It's still a way to go, but we've definitely seen that some openings exist now that have been made apparent due to the COVID crisis. Another issue we have is trying to provide infrastructure and public services to small communities. So it's very costly to provide infrastructure. And Norway is, in a way, it's a special case. It's a fairly long country, right? You can see it on the map. But the layout of the land is difficult, right? We have all these fjords, we have tall mountains, we have like narrow roads just because of how things are structured here, because of nature. We can have like avalanches during the winter that can block off roads to small communities. We're reliant on ferries and things like that, which makes providing infrastructure very, very difficult. And with an aging population, this problem is compounded, right? Some of these infrastructures can be done with digital tools, but not all of them. So that's also a challenge that we have that we haven't quite solved yet. So in the SeeRRI project, we have already talked a bit about it. We have taken this very seriously, been working in these workshops, trying to elucidate these issues, trying to find solutions. We're helping the stakeholders find solutions, I should say. Yeah, so these are...
Thank you very much, Ari. I was going to say, and your workshop are very interesting and is a learning for all of us about how to manage them. So thank you very much. So let's go to Vestland. Beate is going to introduce us the challenge on the population and urbanization in Vestland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, it's we have very much the same challenges as Nordland. In Vestland, we are expecting 98% of the population growth in the 10 next years to be in the urban areas. 53% is expected to come in Bergen, which is the main city in Vestland. And rural municipalities are not expected to take part in the population growth, and some will even, some of them we even expect to have a decreased population. And there are a lot of reasons for this, but one of them is that the jobs in the rural municipalities are disappearing, and we need to create new jobs and new businesses rurally to maintain the workplaces. So at the same time, the businesses in rural areas, they that are in work now, they really struggle to get skilled and educated or the right skilled workers to their businesses. In Vestland, the unemployment rate is about 3% in a normal year, a little bit higher now because of the pandemic, but traditionally a very low unemployment rate. So we struggle to get enough workforce for the businesses in Norway and in Vestland especially. For us as a governmental body, it's crucial to, and we have stated it many times, that collaborative policymaking is the only way to go, because we need to feel we need to experience it directly and hear it from the people that are wearing the shoes, what they need and how they need it and when they need it. And right now we are working to explore and identify how the 9 value chains I mentioned before, how they can materialize in each region in the county. And this is a very knowledge-based and very open process. And we have conducted several public meetings with both stakeholders and citizens to identify the prospects and the possibilities in each region. And the focus is, of course, to create new possibilities, but first and foremost, possibilities in the rural areas, because the pressure on Bergen is getting too heavy. It's difficult to provide enough energy. It's difficult with the infrastructure such as the roads and buildings and everything. So we need to spread out more and take use of the rural areas. And of course, the natural resources are mainly located in the rural areas. So the tourism or the experience economy is vital for large parts of the rural areas, but it cannot exist all by itself. It needs different businesses and different actors, so that the municipalities are complete and attractive to live in. So I think there's this. The main challenge is rural development in Vestland in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you, because you say very well what are the two sides of the coin. So places with a lot of high population and on the other part the need to work on rural population. Thank you very much. Let's go to the region of Central Macedonia in the Mediterranean area. I'm sure that you had difficulties with a lot of population, but let's see, like any Mediterranean places.
Exactly, since we are in the capital of the region, most of the RRI investments are in our city, so they're leading to higher urbanization levels and depopulation in the smaller units. The total RCM Region of Central Macedonia population is about 2 million. That was a number of 2011, so now it's about 2 million approximately. And the Thessaloniki population is about 1.11 million. There is a population increase rate for RCM 3.13% as opposed to the total increase, which is 1.56, and twice as the average of the rate of the EU based on the most recent regional data. Compared to the smaller areas and units of the region, the percentage of Thessaloniki has considerably better RRI competence and infrastructure. And some examples of RRI infrastructure in Thessaloniki are some universities such as the Aristotle University, the University of Macedonia, the International Hellenic University, the Center of Research and Technology, LAS, the Uranium Unit, the Alexander Innovation Zone, and some companies such as MLS and I4G. The RRI investments in the overall infrastructure are expected to aggregate the problem of urbanization, since more employment potentials are in the big urban center and continuously increasing population rate. There's a critical risk for smaller rural areas, and such problems are the loss of young talents, also called as brain drain, mistrust towards local authorities in relation to the area development, and territorial disconnection or even deterritorialization. Thank you. That was also very quick.
Good. So you have many similarities with Vestland.
Yes, exactly.
Even if you are in the other corner of the map of Europe. So good for the sharing and the communication of the problem. So thank you very much, Lenny. So let's go to Galicia. Virginia.
No, it will be myself again. We are just taking turns, you know. In our situation, well, we mentioned a little bit when we made the first presentation, apart from the population urbanization issue for the region, we put more the focus on the aging of the population, because it also affects this kind of other dynamics. And well, I have two images there. Sorry that I couldn't prepare that with the text in English, but I think it's easy to understand. You can see that, as we said in the first, on the left-hand side of your screen, that the 25, more than 25% of the population is older than 65, and only 15.8% is younger than 20. So that's the tendency, and the tendency during the past, let's say, 20 years is that these figures are 25%. I mean, the people older than 65 is growing, and the number of people younger than 20 keeps decreasing. That's important, because that makes most of these old people stay in the rural areas. So it is more difficult to, I mean, if you go to the rural areas, you will see that even this percent of the age groups varies a little bit, and it makes that people older than 65 are well above 25% in rural areas. So this is a handicap for any possible measure to try and change this tendency. Then the population if you go to the map, which is the map of the region, the greener it is the more rural and with the less density of population. And the darkest the red they are the most populated area. So you can see that it's like a line from north to south, close to the coast is where the people live. That's it. Until the late 70s, beginning of the 80s, there was a much more even distribution of the population in the region. Until especially beginning of the 80s, we had a lot of the dependency on the primary sectors, fishing on the coast, and agriculture and cattle and farming in inland. With the changes on these activities, I mean, the lack or the change of model, it made this, let's say, people from the rural areas leave to the urban centers. There was not a, let's say, a change of activity in the rural areas. So people concentrated where let's say, the communications are. If you follow that line, it is where the main motorway of the region is. There are also 3 airports with international connections, and that highway, if you continue south out of the map, you very soon reach to Porto in Portugal. So altogether, this makes a continuum, and this attracts all the population. Because if you go south in the map, in the north of Portugal, the same situation you can experience there. It's exactly the same. So this is what we have at the moment, and the areas which are the fastest growing levels are not the urban areas themselves, but the suburban around, and it's basically because of the cost of the housing. Because our wages compared to the Spanish average are quite low in the region. Is the 2 of the lowest wages or salaries in Spain. So it is not that easy to find a house in urban centers. So a solution for this, change for this, we think that, I mean, smart rural, this is this tendency. We are talking about smart cities in this project, in our RRI to scale, but maybe for us, smart rural would have would make more sense, because we had many more things to let's say, to experience. But also as a fact in this tendency we have is that it's not, the reality is not that the urban areas are growing much and the rural are decreasing. Let's say that the urban areas are stuck, they're not growing, and the rural areas are decreasing. So all in all, altogether, the population is decreasing in the end. So that's also a tendency. It is not such a big attraction at the moment. It is like a static situation a little bit. And so for us, as we mentioned here, we think that smart rural, I mean, this digitization of the society and the economy can bring some possibilities to try and revert this situation. That's it.
Thank you, Manuel. I think as we planned when we planned the webinar, there are common problems and solutions as well. So thank you very much for the smart rural solution, because I think could be applicable as well to what Beate has said and as well from Central Macedonia. So let's go to the next stage. And if you need to the participant, if you have any comment or question, you could formulate, because we are 2 or 3 minutes in advance, so we have the possibility. So we are going to analyze now which sector need a responsible upgrade, and I ask the people from Nordland to answer this question.
Yeah, I'll say something about that. The picture you see here is this building does not yet exist. It's planned. It's a battery factory which is going to come in a medium-sized industrial city with roughly 25,000 inhabitants. 3 years from now, if everything goes as planned, there will be 1,500 people working in this factory. So this we are planning for a very rapid expansion of industrial workers in a medium-sized city. We are talking about 6,000 to 7,000 new inhabitants. And we are talking about in-migration from Asia. In order to, so this is a huge development challenge, which comes as a matter of fact, as a kind of one of the impacts of the smart specialization strategy, because the establishment of this factory was possible because there was some policy instruments in place, regional cluster organization, where the idea of this factory came 5 years ago. So this is a kind of long-term impact of smart specialization in Nordland. And this means that we have, and the point of this factory of producing batteries in a green way is that you need green energy, because when you have produced a battery, you have to charge it and unload it 3 times in order to see to it that it works properly. So there's a lot of energy production going into battery production. And with the new EU policy on the green shift, you shouldn't do that with dirty energy, you should do it with green energy. So there is an increasing demand for alternative energy sources like wind power, which today are underdeveloped, but that could lead to new growth. This is also, so the clean energy transition is an opportunity to increase sustainability and job creation economic activity. And then there is an additional challenge here, because the traditional industry in the city is metal. And with the new EU policies, which are looking for clean green metals, which are not polluted by production based on carbon energy sources, there is also a drive to invest more in the metal production in this city. And so what we are looking at is a competition of our green energy source, which is we have a surplus of green energy production in the region, We are not exporting green energy. We are using it for industrial purposes, unlike what Beate was referring to. So this is creating a lot of challenges when it comes to recruiting people with the right kind of skills, the right kind of education, and building up an innovation system around a new industrial sector. And that's not easy because metal production, which is there already, is kind of embedded in the local regional labor market. But battery production is a new activity. It takes different skills. You cannot expect that metal workers can go into battery production without a great deal of education. And we need to put in place institutions which can provide education and support for the research which is going on within these types of production. Because these new industries are kind of very, they're under a very heavy pressure to innovate. There is a very fast development of technology in batteries. The battery factory we expect to have here will be producing large-scale batteries, not for cars, but for boats and other types of heavy industry, trucks and things like that. There's a parallel development going on in Sweden, northern Sweden, where they are talking about both battery production and metal production as growth engines, because they also have a lot of green energy. So this is going to be a new growth center in a city which is today quite small. And we are looking forward to how can we do this in a responsible way, in a way which makes it possible to develop these new industries in a sustainable way. So it's not just rapid growth and rapid decline. Okay, thank you.
Thank you to you for the mention to develop in a responsible way the batteries and the metal production. Thank you very much, Mr. Mariussen. Let's go with Beate to Vestland in Norway as well.
Thank you. How can we make responsible upgrade of the industries in Vestland? It's the $1,000 question. We need to move from oil and gas to water and wind. And we have a long tradition as Nordland for industries that are heavily dependent on large amounts of energy. So the energy question is very important. And as you can see on the right side here, there's a little picture of how the pandemic might influence and impact the economy in Vestland. The reports that are coming in now says that the impact is less worse and it's not as bad as we feared. But it's early days yet, so we need to see. Gradually, over the few last years, the focus of development and innovation in Vestland has shifted from a search for new oil wells to a search for sustainable and green business opportunities and ways to make a living both in rural and urban areas through green solutions and green business opportunities. We see now that the old recipes for success are no longer serving the economic growth that we want. So we need to find new recipes, and we think that the way to do that is through involving key stakeholders in all the processes of the policy making, so that we identify as many possibilities as possible and take it from there. And in that way, we think that we can implement the strategies and the plans in a way that they work in the whole society and not only in a small part of a municipality or in the city hall, but actually come out and do some good in the society as a whole. In order to find the answers, we think that we need to ask the citizens what the answers or what the questions are, and not just providing answers. If we ask them what questions we need to address, we can address them, and possibly we can provide answers the citizens can believe in, and through that give the region a new sense of urgency and new possibilities through that. The rural areas in Norway, as I showed, if you can take the next picture, yeah, the rural areas in Norway or in Vestland, they have to live with enormous power masts in quite beautiful areas. And most are supplying Bergen and the urban areas with power. So we are placing huge installations in vulnerable nature and to provide Bergen with energy. And as you can see, the protests have been quite heavy, and the girl is taken away by police. Quite friendly though, but quiet, peacefully. But still, it's been a major issue for the rural areas in the fjords, the supply of energy from Bergen. And we hope that by collaborating with the key stakeholders, and especially the clusters and the businesses and municipalities, through that we can identify possibilities and questions that needs answering, and maybe the implementation will be sound and that we can see some actual results in the end. We hope. Thank you.
Thank you to you, and as well a very nice photo again that shows the importance of engaging stakeholders and civil society in general. Thank you for your mention to engaging the clusters, the municipalities, and the business in deploying the strategies. Very good approach that you are dealing with. So, and now let's go to Region Central Macedonia in order to see which sectors industries need a responsible upgrade.
So, irrespective of the technological and innovation maturity, the sectors that we have seen that have that need to be responsible upgraded are and lacking sustainability in terms of negative environment impact are the following: the food processing sector, which is as a part of the food, beverages, and tobacco sector. The construction sector will focus on bricks production, manufacturing of non-metallic mineral products, and the garment manufacturing as a part of the textile and wearing apparel. Thank you. And an additional sector lacking sustainability and appearing in need of responsible upgrade to the lack of social participation and public engagement is the industry sector, often not involving the public opinion and the local needs in processes and outcomes, and resulting in processes that become predetermined by the experts and opinions often become polarized. And yes, that's it from our side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, you have many similarities with Vestland about social participation. And
exactly.
It's incredible. I never thought that you have so many things in common. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go to Galicia to see what are the sectors that needs a responsible upgrade.
It was not an easy choice, honestly, because we have a number of, let's say, hot topics at the moment going on in the region. In the bottom line of all the discussions about sectors and about economy, it is always the fact that we have high levels of unemployment. So it's always above 15%. I think it's 16, 17% at the moment. So this is always brings a big confrontation in interest. Not only on it's not just economy or employers or companies, and civil society. But the civil society itself is normally quite split and depends and discusses very much about these 2 points of view. So at the moment, for instance, we could have talked or chosen to talk about deep sea fishing, for instance, because I think it's common for the Norwegian and well, for all the Atlantic regions. The conflicts about sustainable fishing and the need for the jobs and the need for the fish. That's one thing. There is also the topic of the green energy, of the wind farms that are sustainable methods of producing power, but at the same time they have a big environmental impact. But we chose these 3 topics, mainly the first of them, because they have a big impact on employment. So they always bring a lot of confrontation and discussion. And the first 2 ones, the metal industry and the thermal power generation, they are the 2, let's say, the 3, because the thermal power generation is 2 plants, not only 1, it's in 2 sites. And they are the 3 most polluting companies in the region. But at the same time, they are about to close with a heavy impact on employment. And the 3 of them are in rural areas. So there is a lot of discussion on what to do in these cases. If we go to the thermal power generation, they will be closed, like all over Europe. They are almost closed. And the discussion now is what to install there, what to do there. And the discussion is always, shall we put the focus on the recovering the employment? I mean, in the 2 plants altogether, there were like around 1,000 workers. And then shall we prioritize this, or shall we put the focus on having a more green activity there? And that's something that I don't think there is being a structured discussion about that. About the metal industry is more heavy because that plant over there is aluminium plant and employs more than 1,000 people in a rural area again. So if it is about to close down, you know, Esteban, that it is the news about this all the time in Spain, about this plant and others, but especially this. And closing this, I mean, they have always been a quite big opposition to this factory because it's very polluting. It's by the sea, so there are a number of negative impacts. But now that there is the risk of closing down, there is the contrary reaction, because a lot of jobs are take there. So there is also the discussion is at the moment only on the economy, and I think it should involve something else. And then the last one is mining. You see, the mining we have is quarries. There's always slate and then granite. It is 2 big productions of that, and there are growing, let's say, concerns about the impact of their waste in the region, and it's something that again is not being approached very intensely. It's just the economical side, let's say, being imposed somehow, and but the concern about their impact is growing. So it's something that I think we shouldn't wait until the problem is there, but some discussion should start, and the, let's say, incorporation or the, let's say, opening or establishing some channels for discussing the possibilities for these economical activities should start as soon as possible. Otherwise, the impact will be similar to the previous ones, because these mines are in rural areas and the economical impact will be huge in terms of employment. So I think these are the 3 hot topics in the region, or the hottest topics in the region at the moment.
Galicia has very good development agencies and innovation agencies, and I'm sure that you will overcome this challenge, because in the past you have done already, and I'm sure that you will refurbish it. I see a lot of challenge here, and I have been following the Aspontes as well, one of the thermal power generation plants that is going to be closed, and
that's already closed. That's already closed.
Already closed. So it's
just closed in December this year.
Okay, so it's true that when we speak about Green Deal and this type of things, seems that everything is going to be well, but everything has an impact in the employment, and hopefully the car manufacturing industry will be able to innovate and recover, and the reorganization of the car manufacturing industry will not affect as well other European territories, because we are as well on that line.
Yeah, we depend quite a lot on the car industry too, but it's not a, it's not under discussion, and it's another type of economy. The environmental impact is different, and the social impacts, the negative social impacts are not so evident as, or if any, not evident as in these cases.
So Manuel, thank you very much for this interesting presentation as well. So let's go from problems and challenges to solutions, and we are going to finish with this section now, is how we apply responsible research and innovation in different aspects in our territories, how we are doing institutional change. Before organizing projects, we are supposed to propose long-term lasting legacies of institutional change. And let's go to our colleagues from Norway, Nordland, to learn what they are doing with good example of implementing responsible research and innovation at territorial level.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jens.
So I will talk about this. So I, like my colleagues Åge and Ade, I'm from Nordland Research Institute and have been working in the SeeRRI project in Nordland. So the SeeRRI project, which was not really introduced at the beginning today. So let me just say briefly that the SeeRRI project is about integrating RRI principles into smart specialization. That's the core idea of the SeeRRI project. And one of the partners in SeeRRI is the Nordland County Council, so the regional government of Nordland. And Nordland County Council, they have defined responsible coastal management as a core challenge for the region. And they decided to try to adopt the principles of RRI into their regional planning. So you could call it responsible regional planning. That would be the outcome. And in particular, what they wanted to do was to deepen and broaden public engagement in planning processes. So in Norway, public involvement in policymaking processes is protected by law to some extent, because policies and plans in Norway, they must be presented in public hearings before they are approved, so that the public has a chance to provide feedback. But this represents a kind of minimum requirement only for public involvement, because it only requires that plans are presented to the public after they have been prepared. So the public doesn't have to be involved in the actual creation of policies. And in Nordland, they wanted to change that. They wanted to involve the public in planning processes at an earlier stage. And the SeeRRI project gave them an opportunity to experiment with this. So in 2020 and 21, we organized a series of workshops here in Nordland. Some of them online, some of them on site here in Bodø, which is the capital of Nordland. So fortunately, Nordland has not been very badly hit by the pandemic. So we were able to bring the stakeholders together at a physical venue for the most important workshops in September and October last year. And to ensure broad representation, we invited stakeholders from academia, industry, government, and civil society. So the entire quadruple helix, as it's called. And what we did at those workshops was that we used a foresight methodology to discuss possible futures for the region with regard to coastal management, and discuss how we can find the best course towards an attractive future, because that means that we have to navigate some difficult trade-offs. If you prioritize certain things, then you might lose out on others, and so on. So that's something we discussed with the Nordland stakeholders. And the picture that you see on the slide is an illustration of the 4 possible future scenarios for Nordland that were developed by the stakeholders at the workshop. And the illustration was made by Mario Magana, who is our in-house artist in the SeeRRI project. And these 4 scenarios that you see are closely connected to those challenges and opportunities that my colleagues Åge and Ade have talked about earlier today. So the 4 scenarios, you have the titles of these scenarios. The first one is the loss of control, which focuses is the most negative possible future scenario here, which focuses on some negative outcomes of foreign investment, among other things. And then, so that is the one you see on the left. And then if you go clockwise, you have a thriving open economy, which focuses more on the positive outcomes of foreign investment and openness to the world. And then you have closed self-sufficient ecosystem. It's the third one with the bottle you see there. And the last one at the bottom is called diversity and sustainability, which focuses on keeping vibrant small coastal communities, but and protecting the environment, but at the cost of at the expense of economic growth. So these discussions that we had, a very interesting discussion we had with stakeholders, will then serve as inputs to the aerial planning strategies of Nordland County Council. So that is an important example, we think, of application of territorial RRI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your stakeholders' involvement is a lesson for not only for the people of the RRI community, but as well for the regional economic practitioners. How you do that, how you manage this workshop, and to engage the different stakeholders in your territory. Thank you very much for the clear lesson, Jens. So let's go to Vestland to see some territorial practical examples of RRI.
Yes, thank you. I will first take one or two examples from the industries that are actually initiatives from the industries to gather stakeholders in both the industries themselves and in the universities and in the public administrations, and putting it all together to find new solutions. And we have a global, I don't remember, GCE, Ocean Technology, which is a cluster that develops and supplies innovative ocean technology within a range of applications. And this is, like I said before, this is a part of the transition from the oil and gas production and into a new, greener future for the industries and creating new jobs. And at the same time, we can then maintain jobs in all over the region, and we can take knowledge from these clusters, we have several, into our policy making. And if we take the next picture, as I also mentioned before, we have some large investments done in carbon capture, storage, and utilization. And this is just an example of how the broader collaborative policymaking can make actual results in the region, and how we can create both climate change answers and new jobs, and at the same time make money for the region. So I said earlier that the energy grid is a crucial point in our ecosystem in Vestland, and we need to do large investments to make it as resilient as we need it for the future. And this is all of these elements are combined into the wicked problem of the vision, and how do we create jobs that are climate friendly and that are making money and that are sustainable both in a societal way and an economic way, but also in an environmental way. So in order to advance the green shift, we need a petroleum industry to finance the green shift. So we need to do it both at the same time. And that is quite difficult, at least morally, to do so. So we hope that we, through the processes I have described earlier with large involvement, broad involvement in the policy making, and we can actually make some differences. And recently we decided on the regional strategy for innovation and business development. And for the next 4 months, we are making out the action plans for that strategy. And the way we do it is asking the same stakeholders and adding some new stakeholders and citizens to point out which actions we can take to achieve the goals set in the strategy. So that is the way we work now, and we feel comfortable with that approach, and we feel that we can evolve it further by including more and making public decision-making a citizen's affair. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beate. Thank you for the clear vision about the importance of the carbon capture and exploration and the decision-making in your territory and the RRI. So let's go to Region Central Macedonia. We have Eleni here. Yes, I see you, Eleni. Please.
Okay, at first we have just a general example of the industry, which is refers to corporate social responsibility and applying the principles of the RRI of public engagement for responding to the challenge of responsible upgrade, the integration of social and environmental concerns in their business operations and planning interactions with stakeholders. Such examples are the two businesses, MLS and DSFA, which are implementing the corporate environmental quality management procedures and cooperate with local communities for reducing carbon footprint. And follows our example, the TeRRItoria example, and which started with the co-creation of the gender equality plan, which is the co-design phase of the transformative experiment, and had 3 bilateral online meetings with representatives of academia, industry, policymakers, and citizens. We prepared an official invitation signed by the governor to address all stakeholders in a personal manner. At the meetings, all quadruple helix stakeholders and most major relevant organizations were represented. They used an online platform that most of the participants were familiar with, such as Zoom, and everybody found that was actually eager to participate, even if a novel way at that time. Everyone had time to voice their ideas and opinions by open, non-structured discussions. After each meeting, we gave them the opportunity to have some more thoughts brought to us through Google Documents. There also was a Rights Open Citizen Summit conducted also online. During the rights of many participants were previously attended, helped us with the co-creation. During the rights of and the Citizen Summit, we also used some other interactive platforms such as Slido and Miro. And the areas of intervention that emerged through all of these meetings were female career progression, gender-aware science, confronting social and cultural stereotypes, projection of female role models, gender-neutral language, institutional communication and dissemination, work-life balance, sexual harassment, and gender violence, and raising awareness on gender issues. There was also the public event that took place with several attendees from all quadruple helix areas. And after all of these co-creation events, we are finally in the development of the first plan, of the first draft of the gender equality plan, which will be for all or RRI organizations contributing to the responsible upgrade. And they will cooperate with us, with our team, in order to achieve and engage all types of contributing helix and develop all the strategic areas that I have mentioned before, and correspond to their needs and challenges, and adopt to their personal needs, and in the future, in sustainable, in order to be more sustainable, gender equality plan in the future based on social concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I recommend to all of you to see the gender equality plan of Central Macedonia, because it's very well done, well advanced. They have created even a board, a regional board of people working in with the decision-making people in the gender equality. And as you all know, for the next project for Horizon Europe, you have to have a gender equality plan in your, your organization. So I think it's very well done, the one of Lenia, on Central Macedonia, not Lenia. You are not the only one. Okay. Okay, let's go to Galicia to see good practice. Yes, Virginia.
I guess it is me. Yeah,
Virginia, perfect.
Yeah, well, in terms of RRI, we, as I said before, we are developing the next regional smart specialization and strategy, and in that sense, we are trying to involve our sectors. So we are organizing debates and roundtables, sectoral roundtables. And we are quite happy that all the stakeholders are very participative. And we are organizing like 3 types of debates. So in order to know about their challenges and then trying to identify big solutions or big projects, then also to the last one will be around the instruments. The instruments that the public sector will have to develop for the next period. And then we wanted to highlight two examples that we think they are very interesting. One is the first picture you see. These are sea workers. They are mainly women in Galicia, and this is the seafood sector is very traditional, and they are very participative. And we think that there is a very good collaboration from also the past between this sector, academia, and also the policymakers. So they are there is a mutual benefit from this collaboration, because academia is showing the status of the sea, and the productive sector is also benefiting from it, and they are using services from the academia, and also they are both together in the health sector. We are launching like health living labs. We started with one of our hospitals in Ourense, and we are trying to make like a network of living labs in the rest of the hospitals. And the mainly what we want to do is creating these initiatives boosted by the users. So we think these 2 examples were good to bring it here today to this seminar. And today, now I finished some earlier, indeed.
It's good that you finish because we are 1 minute over time. I'm going to take 2 minutes to say the closure and that's it, and we will finish. As you saw, we have different regions, however, with similar talents and similar functions, but very diverse solutions, as you could saw in the last part of the presentation. This was the purpose of the whole event, to see how we apply for the same challenge, different solutions in order to have a mutual learning, which is in the core and the mainstream of TeRRItoria. And that's why we are grateful to the 4 projects that allow us to moderate this session. Speaking about to be thankful, I would like to thank you to all the speakers for the effort that they have done on teaching, especially to Mr. Mauritzen from Nordland, as well Jens Hansen and Aren Jensen, that has a nice microphone and we were able to listen to him very well. So Beate gave us a very good presentation of the things done in Vestland. Eleni was wonderful because she never spoke the 4 minutes, so I have some time to make a closure. So thank you very much. And as well, the people from Galicia, Manuel and Virginia. However, this is a collective work, and we have as well the effort of Thomas Bakraksas, that is behind the scene, and you cannot see him, and as well Ángel Honrado and Mario Magaña from Widow, the company in Barcelona, and of course my colleague Giacomo Frisanco that you see probably in the left corner. So thank you very much. We will have one thing. I made a mistake about the blue economy and smart specialization. It's not on the 7th, it's on the 6th of July. It's an event organized by the European Commission, together DigiMare and DigiRegio, with Peter Berkovich and the people from Mare, speaking about smart specialization applied for blue economy, which is one of the economic driving future. We will contact all of you after the summer to invite you to have another RRI meeting with similar regions, but with different challenges. We would like to say different regions and similar challenge. I would like to say is low populated and low connected areas that we will discuss. And then later, the more industrialized for the energy and digital twin transition. Thank you very much to all of you. And it has been a pleasure and an honor for me to moderate this interesting session.